Hello and welcome to Norty Defends, and I'm here to correct a former mistake. Less than a year ago, I defended The Happening from Film Brain in my first ever Norty Defends, and it wasn't very good. Sure, some of it was fine, but I skipped over parts of the film that would have helped my case, and my fanboyism made me sound like I was just rambling. I'll keep the other review up just so you can know I've made mistakes before. So, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna do this in front of my DVD collection, but about half of them are gone. So, let's not waste any more time and get started.
The opening credits play across ominous shots of clouds. Actually, I think they're just ominous because of the sinister music. See, if I just change the music, it changes the whole feel. Watch!
Well, yeah, you can do that with a lot of opening title sequences. Watch, I'll do it to David Fincher's Panic Room. You see? In fact, you pretty much just complimented the movie on its music.
It's weird. Those people look like they're clawing at themselves. Is that blood?
You know, a key principle of film is show, don't tell, especially when you have someone spouting forced dialogue like an alien.
Alright, I'll give you that one. That was pretty forced. I see what he was going for, trying to make it more creepy by not showing it, but hey, whatever.
So everyone in the park freezes and some start walking backwards. Ooh, chilling. And if you're wondering why everyone else in the park is affected but iGirl isn't, I have no idea.
Well, as hinted at later in the movie, you won't get affected by the toxin if you give off good vibes. So maybe this woman was giving them off. Although this isn't said out loud in the film, it's just showing rather than telling, which you complained about a minute ago, but...
So the forgetful girl commits suicide by stabbing herself in the neck, and from here begins M. Night's blatant exploitation of his R rating.
So it's an R-rated movie about suicide and you're complaining that there's blood?
So we cut to a construction site as the mass suicide spreads. A construction worker suddenly falls to his death in a bit so good, M. Night did it again in Devil.
He didn't direct that movie. Or write it, for that matter. Well, most of it.
Then, in one of the film's most memorable shots, the rest of the construction workers proceed to throw themselves off the building. Which is incidentally the same reaction employees had at 20th Century Fox when the reviews came out.
Because as we know, Hollywood executives only care if the movie is well received and don't care how much money it makes.
We then cut to the science class at Philadelphia High School being taught by Elliot, played by a tonally flaccid Mark Wahlberg.
First, yes, I do know that Mark Wahlberg said he hated this movie. And second, I don't care. I don't think he was that bad in it. It was just campy enough for the type of movie it is. Unlike Zooey Deschanel, who was absolutely horrible.
Well, apparently honeybees are disappearing all over the country. Tens of millions of them just disappearing. All right, let's hear some theories about why this might be happening. Nothing? Come on, guys.
Why don't any of you care about the bees? Nicholas over here is really passionate about it.
Not the bees! Ah! Oh, my eyes! Eyes!
Okay, I can't deny that was pretty funny.
He's right. I mean, science will come up with some reason to put in the books. But in the end, it'll be just a theory. I mean, we will fail to acknowledge that there are forces at work beyond our understanding.
What? That's not science, that's ideological bullshit! Very subtle subtext you have there, M. Night.
Well, everything starts out as a theory, and then you gotta prove it by doing experiments and all that shit. And you know what? What was in the science books 100 years ago, some of it's pretty laughable now. And who knows, maybe 100 years from now, what the very idea of protons and electrons could be laughable. At least that's what Ian Malcolm said.
I think Marky Mark is meant to be M. Night's idea of a really cool teacher because he hides around the room when another teacher walks in. Dude, you're teaching science class for 15-year-olds, not 3-year-olds.
Man, they must have some really stern professors over there in England. I mean, I had teachers who cracked jokes, did impressions. Hell, I remember watching a film about meiosis in the 10th grade. It was a cartoon.
Including his best friend, the percentage-obsessed maths teacher Julian, played by John Leguizamo, who is the only big name in this film not to completely embarrass himself. They are told by Cameron from Ferris Bueller that...
There appears to be an event happening.
Happening! Just like the title! Very clever, M. Night. Very clever.
He said happening. Bad movie. I mean, it's not like that makes the movie any better or worse, but... whatever, it's one little nitpick. I mean, it's not like he's gonna do it again, right?
Central Park was just hit by what seems to be a terrorist attack. It's some kind of airborne chemical toxin that's been released in and around the park. I spoke with the head of schools. He said we should dismiss the students, so take your planners home so we can get back when this is over.
It's an airborne toxin, but they're advising the students to go home. Outside. In a possible terrorist attack. Yeah, that makes sense.
If they were in New York, where the epidemic was happening, I might agree with you. But they're in Philadelphia, so it would make more sense to send the kids home to be with their families.
The kids then leave and we cut to... Ah! Bloody hell, what's up with her huge eyes? I've never seen someone's eyelids open that wide.
Yeah, I think it was the extreme close-up. What is with all the extreme close-ups in this movie? I never got that.
This is Alma, wife of Elliot, who is extremely embarrassed about the phone ring, presumably because she is cheating on him. So New York City has been evacuated and M. Night tries to justify his bullshit plot with scientific babble he copied out of a biology textbook.
Well, our brains come equipped with a self-preservation mechanism to stop us from harmful actions. This new neurotoxin is basically flipping the preservation switch, blocking neurotransmitters in a specific order, causing specific self-damaging and catastrophic effects.
Look, movie, I don't care how many scientific words you copy from the Oxford Dictionary, there's no way overriding electrochemical signals in the brain can trigger incredibly complex acts of suicide. And before you say it's schlocky, it's pretty clear that Shyamalan has a message he wants to tell with this film, so I'm forced to take this bullshit for serious.
It's supposed to be like a 1950s B-movie. Look at the original Day the Earth Stood Still. That had a message about war. Why can't this movie have a message about the environment?
So you decide to pack and go stay with Julian's family in the countryside, despite the fact that they're probably better off staying at home and stocking up on enough supplies to wait it out.
Again, nothing had happened there yet. They were trying to get out of the city so they could be safer, more away from New York. And it's an airborne toxin. If it did reach them, it would get in. They would have to be in an airtight space.
The phone rings again.
Hello?
That's M. Night doing his trademark cameo on the phone there, and I'm sure many people have told him this, but you are not Alfred Hitchcock.
You're right. He is an Alfred Hitchcock. But he is one of his main influences, and it's not like having the director in the film makes it any better or worse. Well, it was only one word and he wasn't seen.
So we cut to the train station with Julian and his daughter, Jess, waiting for them. Julian's wife has not been able to make the train, and we're supposed to care about her despite the fact she's never appeared on screen. Besides, it's blatantly obvious that she's going to die when she hasn't appeared on camera by now.
We were more supposed to care about Julian and Jess, and since they cared about her, we were supposed to care about her. And it worked for me, but I know I'm in the minority on that.
Philadelphia's major park is hit by the toxin. See, that's quite chilling. Now watch. So an effective shock has turned into a demented conga line, crossing into the ridiculous and becoming unintentionally funny. The idea of it is actually much more terrifying than the visual, which, well, looks ridiculous and implausible. A gun! I'll just shoot myself with it now! Bang!
I'll give you that one too. I personally thought it was a decent shock, but I can't really defend it, it's just a personal opinion.
The train then comes to a halt and they are ejected in the middle of nowhere. Elliot tries to get some answers.
Why would you just stop? You can't just leave us here.
Sir,
We lost contact.
With whom?
Everyone.
Christ, why don't these people talk like human beings? This isn't a trailer, you can speak in coherent sentences.
How would you have done that line, Film Brain? Go ahead, show me how to do it correctly. I thought it was fine and gave a feeling of creepiness.
You know that everyone gives off energy, right? It's scientifically proven. They got these cameras that can record what color you are when you're feeling different things. You see this ring? This ring can supposedly tell you what you're feeling.
Yeah, she's finding the awkward and incredibly unnatural dialogue hilarious.
You had a problem with that line too? She was laughing at Elliot's face.
So the crowds gather round obviously professional footage of the outbreak in the Philadelphia Zoo. Oh, look at the cute little tigers, they're ripping his arms off, isn't that adorable?
Tigers? Dude, those are lions.
It was very nice of the camera person to just sit back and film a guy feeding himself to lions, but he was rushing back to upload that shit on YouTube.
Well, sorry to say that's society for you. They would rather film something than go and get help.
The power is cut off by something. That makes even less sense when we know what the threat is later.
People at the power company killed themselves, someone drove their car into the lines. The fact that we don't know what it is makes it creepier.
The people discover the attack is an airborne toxin, and they are in the centre of the affected area, so their first instinct is to all rush outside and risk exposure rather than staying where they are sheltered and with supplies. So the idiots flee, leaving the protagonist behind. Unluckily for them, one odd man offers to give them a ride.
Hi. I run a plant nursery up the street. We're picking up a few things from home, then heading wherever this isn't happening.
Will you stop having the character say happening just because it's in the title? Here's some good synonyms, by the way, M. Night. Okay, happening, noun, an unexpected happening. Accident, affair, chance, circumstance, event, instant, occasion, occurrence, phenomenon, taking place, occurring, going on. These are all good phrases and words that people tend to use as well.
Film Brain, you are trying way too hard to get a laugh. Just because you shout something and be as angry as possible doesn't make your point any more valid or any more funny. Complaining that they use the word happening is one of the most nitpicky things I have ever heard.
So they part ways and the cheese is turned up to 11, making it blatantly obvious that Julian isn't returning. They pull up to the house of their drivers, which provides a good view of the nearby cooling towers, shoving the not-so-subtle environmental message further down the audience's collective throat.
Hey, it's subtle. It's not like the characters pointed them out or something. In fact, having him in the background is the perfect example of subtlety.
We're packing hot dogs for the road. You know, hot dogs get a bad rap. They got a cool shape, they got protein. You like hot dogs, right?
No, he's not under the effect of the toxin. He's just randomly started talking about hot dogs. You'd be forgiven for thinking that M. Night hasn't held a conversation with another human being in his life.
This is one of those M. Night characters that just seems incredibly weird to give some comedic relief. Like the pharmacy clerk from Signs or the comic book clerk from Unbreakable.
I think I know what's causing this.
You do?
It's the plants. They can release chemicals.
And that isn't just some loony theory that our hot dog admirer has. He's actually right. The movie expects you to believe that plants suddenly turned sentient and evolved overnight, because that's exactly how evolution works.
This is all meant to be theory. Yes, a lot of it is pointing towards the plants being responsible, but what if it wasn't those types of plants? What if it was power plants? You know, for the guy who said that shoving power plants in the scene was very unsubtle, you seem to have missed that.
As they drive through the town, blocking the air vents and windows, they realise their doom in the pierced roof, which they're going to stare at for several minutes and do bugger all to fix it.
That was more like several seconds, and based on the music, you could pretty much tell that Julian knew it was way too late.
The driver then kills them with speeded up editing, except for Julian, who somehow manages to survive, walk out the car, and then start slashing his wrist with the broken glass. Again, this is M. Night going a step too far. He's constantly trying to one-up himself, and it makes the scenes overdone rather than chilling.
Actually, slitting your wrists is a pretty big step down for most of the deaths in this movie.